Okay, today we're going to do an oil change in this car. This is a 2003 Toyota Corolla. It has a 4-cylinder engine in it. Looks like it's supposed to storm here after a while, so we're going to actually do this in the garage. It's going to be a little cramped. I prefer to work in the driveway where I got more room to move about, but looks like we're in here today. So anyway, first thing we want to do before we get started, before we start taking anything apart, is to check the oil and see where we were at, to see if the engine's burned the oil and what kind of condition the oil is in. So let's get started on that. On this one, the hood release is right under here. Get your hand under, find it, lift up, lift the hood up. Once you get the hood up, you've got a support brace right here. And you've got where it goes right there. This one is not spring loaded. Some cars you have springs. So. Get here and put it right in there. It's kind of hard to do that while I'm holding the camera. Alright, so like I said, the first thing we're going to do is check the oil. Let's point out where some things go. This is your engine oil dipstick. This is what you use to check your oil. And when you put fresh oil in, it goes here. So let's check the oil now. This car was just ran not too long ago. Things have sloshed around inside, so let's just go ahead and pull it. We'll wipe it off. Now to get our accurate reading, just let it sit there for a second. Bring it back out. And these two little dubs right here is your safe zone. So you want it between here and here. We're about right there, so we're in good shape. And note the color of the oil, that it's got a good color to it. A lighter, newer looking oil obviously is better. If it's really black, you may consider doing your oil changes more frequently. Because we're doing a tire rotation too, I'm also going to raise all four wheels. That's not necessary if you're just doing the oil change. If you're just doing the oil change by itself, then you would only have to raise the front of the car. So let's jack her up. All right, safety, using jack stands and a block of wood. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is go ahead and take this cap here, loosen it. I'm just going to set it to the side, and it's basically just to help allow the oil to flow out. We're under the car, so let's look at some of the stuff you're going to be dealing with. So here's your oil pan, oil drain plug, oil filter. You know, this little car, it has things pretty well laid out. So the first thing we want to do is take off this oil filter, and then we'll do the drain plug. First thing we want to do is get our catch pan under the car. This is an oil filter wrench, and basically you just set this thing around your oil filter, and you're going to twist it a certain way. As you twist this in, this will tighten around it. So if you're trying to take the filter off, you want the handle on the left side of the filter, and you squeeze, it's going to turn counterclockwise. If you're using it to put one on, then you put it on the right side of the filter, and as you turn it, it'll squeeze and turn clockwise. Alright, there is no good angle for me to get a view of what I'm dealing with up here, and that's a part of the problem. This is a tight squeeze. You've got a radiator hose here, you've got this little flappy thing, which we'll shove those back up to kind of tighten. And you've got a lot to work with here, but what you do in this situation is, like I said, you get this wrapped around the oil filter and you see if you can move it at all. It grips pretty quick, but I've only got about that much space to move that handle. So it's probably going to be little nudges at a time. And there's a little movement. These shouldn't be too tight. And you just need a wrench to break the torque on it anyway here, just to... Alright, it's getting where it turns pretty freely. Yeah. Once you loosen it, you take the wrench off and you just start unscrewing it by hand. Here comes the oil. Make sure your pan's ready. Once it kind of slows down, we'll go ahead and take the filter the rest of the way off. Now the filter's off. Once you're sure that the oil filter is done dripping, for this car you're going to want to move your pan back a little. Now this one comes out at somewhat of an angle and it's going to shoot out, so be ready for that. If you put the edge of this directly under, it's going to overshoot and it's going to end up on your floor. And then you got a big mess. So make sure you're expecting that. Now this one's not too bad. It's at about a 45-degree angle. Not too bad. My Chevy Silverado is at a 90-degree angle. And that thing shoots way out to the side when you first take it off. It's best to have a long pan to collect this with. It'll shoot out when it's full, but then as it gets empty, it's going to come back. So anticipate all that, or again, you're going to have a mess. Now, hopefully, you know, if you or a person that knew what they were doing changed the oil last time, this won't be too tight. If the person didn't know, they probably torqued it down as much as they could, you know, torque it to 2 grunts, which is way too much. So we'll make sure our ratchet's ready. I did this one so it shouldn't be too tight. It's still going to be snug. You don't have to break your wrist. What I do is just get that and just kind of tap it. And it's already moved a little bit. There we go. All done. Do the rest of it with your fingers. Like I said, be ready. Don't go so far that it's not directly under. That's why you want a long pan. There we are. Now we're just going to let that drain. This is your engine oil drain plug. Most of these have a magnet at the end of it here that is there to catch any metal particles that are floating around in your oil. I'm assuming this has one. Maybe it's just kind of embedded in there, but we don't see anything immediately. It looks nice and clean. What I like to do is just take a regular absorbent paper towel, white, and just wipe that off. And then look at 2 things. One, look at the oil and just see if there's any silverish black metal flakes in there, which there's not. And then just inspect this, and there's nothing in it either. Just kind of clean this up, and it's ready to go back in. Alright, so we're ready to put oil back in the car. What we want to do is look at our manual, which actually I did this before I got started. You probably should do this before you got started, just so you know what you're getting into, and that way when you go to the store to buy your oil, you'll know how much you're getting. But I'll show you kind of what we're looking at here. I believe it's in this little area right here. Well, first of all, this is one thing you need to know is what kind you're getting into. What kind of oil do you need? You got 5W30, and it gives you a temperature range. It says if you're at 0 or above, you could use 10W30. It even says the preferred oil is 5W30. If you're doing a 03 Corolla, just do 5W30. Keep it simple. If you're doing your own maintenance, get one of these books. If you don't happen to have one, Sometimes it will tell you on the oil cap that it wants 5W30. You could probably also find this in the owner's manual. So you need to know what kind of oil to use, 5W30, and you're going to need to know the capacity. And here we go. Engine oil with filter change, 2008 and earlier. Ours is an 03. So we need 3.9 quarts. There you go. 3.9 quarts of oil, which happens to be right there next to its filter. Alright, so the next thing we want to do is get our filter ready. Now on this car, the filter pretty much goes straight up into the motor. If you have one that mounts sideways, you just may want to omit what I'm about to tell you. But if you got one that's fairly straight up, maybe 45-degree angle or less, what you want to do is put some oil in the filter. And what this does is when you start up the car for the first time after the oil change, it doesn't have to fill the filter before it gets some oil into the motor, before the oil pressure builds up. We're only talking about maybe 5 to 10 seconds it would take to fill up that filter, but that is 5 to 10 seconds that your engine is starved for oil. So a lot of people recommend you just go ahead and do that. So that's what we're going to do. Now it'll come up and it has to kind of settle some and spill some. Try not to spill any. Alright. Now, just take your finger. Even if this thing mounts sideways, even if you're not going to put oil in the filter, go ahead, dip your finger in there, or if you did put oil in, just take some of it, and you want to put it on this gasket. Make sure that gasket's got fresh oil on it, it's nice and wet. You don't want to put this on with a dry gasket. Now it's time to put the engine oil drain plug back in. So we're going to switch our socket from this little guy right here to this right here. This big guy is a torque wrench. And yeah, I had to go a 1/2 inch to a 3/8 adapter to use that. By the way, this is 9/16 socket, if you were wondering. So why do we want a big behemoth of a torque wrench to tighten a little oil drain plug? We're actually using this so we know we torque it right, so we don't put too much pressure on. So, take our little drain plug and put it in here, and make sure always put this in by hand. By the way, this is not the place for an impact wrench. Do not put an impact wrench on this thing. We're just going to hand tighten it. I checked the service manual, and we're going for 27 foot-pounds of torque. So make sure we're going the right direction here. We're not. Had to flip the little switch. Alright, 27 foot-pounds of torque. That's all we need. Quick, and we're done. Boom, just like that. Do not over torque this thing. This is made to seal, and it's softer metal, soft thread, soft oil pan. And if you torque that too much, you could probably break it off in there. You're in for a bad day if you do that. But remember, you got to take this thing off. And real quick story, on my Silverado, when it was under warranty, I always let the dealership do the work. And when I started doing my own work after the warranty was gone, I got under there and I found a rounded off engine oil. The plug was rounded off. And I found out why when I went to take it off. It was because the thing has torqued down way too much. Again, this is why I like to work on my own stuff, so I know it gets done right. All right, next thing, let's put in the oil filter. Again, I wish I could give you an angle where you could kind of see what was going on. There's just, with all the stuff that's in the way, there's no way for me to do that, so I apologize for that. What you want to do, One is make sure on your old oil filter that you kind of see it there. I don't want to get it out because it'll leak all over the place. Make sure the gasket's still on it. Make sure that the meeting surface, and you can tell this thing, it's a nice clean silver metal meeting surface up here. Make sure it's clean, make sure it's not a gasket stuck to it. And of course also check your stuff that's fresh out of the box. Make sure there was a gasket on that, which you would have noticed when you went to put new oil on it if it was missing. So what we're going to do is put this back up in here. Again, soft metal threads, careful not to cross thread. Alright, once we get it started, want to just get it up there, hand tighten. First thing we're going to do is just clean off the oil filter because there is a number on the bottom of it, and whatever brand of oil filter you get, if there's no markings, you could use something to make a marking, you know, white. You get a little bottle of white out and just make a little white mark on it or something, whatever. Clean it off real good. I'm going to do a voiceover here because I wasn't clear when I give these instructions while I was laying on the ground. And you're watching me use a filter wrench to put the filter on. And that is what I intend to do, and I know a lot of people have an issue with that. As far as tightening the oil filter, you run the filter up and just spin it on until the gasket just touches. Basically not tighten it all. Then because the oil filter has got oil all over it and it's slippery, I don't want to do hand tightening because I can't get a true hand tightening. So that's where I bring in the filter wrench. And I'll turn it anywhere between a half a turn to a turn, depending on how tight it feels and manufacturer's instructions. But there should be something on the box with the oil filter that's going to tell you exactly how much to turn it. Yeah, if you look at the side of this package, you'll see that it says this one here gets turned 3/4 to 1 turn. That's what this manufacturer recommends for their filter. Alright, so now we can start putting the oil back in there. And again, we need 3.9 quarts. This one is actually 5 quarts. So we want to get it to just above the 1 quart line. There's 1, there's 1.5, so probably at the top of those numbers, as you watch that, at the top of the 1.0 would be about 3.9 quarts. So let's dump it in. Again, it's easier if you flip it over like this. Dump some in, see where we're at. Got 2.5 left. And a little splash. There we go. Get rid of the funnel. Put the oil cap back on. Again, just snug. Don't have to torque it down like crazy. We're going to do the tire rotation first, and then we'll check the oil. Also, give time for the oil to drain down and get down to the oil pan where it needs to be. Now let's see where the engine oil level is. Nice and cleaned off. Alright, where are we at here? Sometimes with new oil, it's really hard to see. It's right there at the top of that little divot right there. And it's good to have them little divots because the divots will catch the oil and it'll kind of hang up in there. I don't know if the camera can, I'll get as close as I can if it shows, but you can just kind of see that new oil. New oil is almost clear, especially on that dipstick like that. And it's kind of hard to see, but that's what that little divot will help you out. Some of them have holes, which is even better. But we got just right where we need to be on the amount of oil. So that part of it's done. Now, while you're in here, you can check other fluids. We want to make sure our brake fluid's good amount, and looks like we're good. Over here is our power steering fluid, and it's got plenty, although it's a little bit dark, and we may need to do a flush on that one day. Hey, that'll be another video. Coolant is right here, and it's kind of hard to see. It's really hard to see. Okay, I can kind of see it. It's right there. So it could stand to have a little bit of coolant, but we're definitely safe. And finally, we add a little windshield washer fluid to top it off. Your specs can be found in different places on the car. I've seen them in the back of the, or on the back side of the fuel tank door on the car, in the glove box, on the inside of your door jamb. It could be on any of the 4 doors. I just have to hunt for it. It's probably in your owner's manual, and it'll be in a service manual too. But anyway, 30 psi. Let's get a little air out. Right at 30, we'll get all the other tires. All right, mission accomplished. Moment of truth. It's an oil change. I think we're okay. All right, check out the oil light. Actually, it went out pretty quick. And that's why we put oil into the oil filter. If you're able to. Remember, if that thing's sitting sideways, it's just going to spill out. So, I don't know why the manufacturers do that, but they do. Alright, let's get this car pulled out before we carbon monoxide ourselves to death. Look under there. Get the car running. I don't see anything dripping down. Hey, I guess that means that we did a good job, right? Alright, one thing left to do. Alright, so let's see mileage where we're at. 145,277. Alright. Now normally, if you don't have a fancy little sticker like the dealerships give you, I take the top of a post-it note and just trim it off. It makes the perfect sticker. Alright, but when I bought my oil filter the other day, the place where I bought it gave me one of these fancy dealership looking stickers that you can just stick up there. 145,277 plus 3,000 is 148,277. So let's do that up. So I fill out my own information. Again, normally I use a post-it note, but I don't care what the blanks say. Next service mileage, what do we say? 148 and 277. Now, like I noted up on that one up there, it actually says a tire rotation not needed, but she went way over on her oil change. We're just about to need a tire rotation, so I did it anyway. Take care of that. So we'll go on and say tire rotation not needed. Much better, right? They don't give you much room to write on this. It's not a post-it note, but you know, it'll work. There we go. There we go. Boom. All right, that pretty much concludes how to do an oil change. Watch for other videos. Click like, If you haven't subscribed already, I don't know why you're waiting. You need to subscribe. That way you'll see when more of my videos come out. So make sure you check that kind of stuff out. But anyway, have fun working on cars, and remember, this is something that you can do. So thanks for watching.